Hello there, Shadow Helmet Guy here, and for today I'm joined by the others, Greedy Helmet and Other Helmet Guy. We're diving into a big debate about Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Is it a glorified DLC or a full sequel with real changes? As for me, I'm right in the middle. I generally can't decide, so I'd rather hear the arguments from these two. Other Helmet Guy, I don't think you've ever probably met Greedy Helmet before. Why don't you both introduce yourselves?
Yes, I'm Greedy Helmet, and I represent greed in all things, including corporate companies. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, I've heard about you. You've got some really weird stuff going on with all that greed.
Nice. Now that we're all acquainted, let's jump right into the topic, shall we?
Absolutely. Look, let's not pretend here that it has the same maps, the same world, the same basic engine, and Nintendo slapped in a few extra features and charged full price again. The Underground, basically a giant cave. Sky Island is flowing rocks. New abilities, fun, sure, but that's still DLC material to me. If this wasn't Zelda, everyone would have called it Breath of the Wild 1.5.
Oh, okay. Anyway, Other Helmet Guy, what do you think of this response?
First off, the new mechanics change everything. Ultrahand, Fuse, Ascend, they completely transform how you explore and solve problems. This isn't just added content, the game literally plays differently. And yeah, the surface map is familiar, but the Sky Islands add vertical exploration, and the depths are basically an entire second world. That's not small, that's a massive expansion to the game world. Also, the story is way bigger. Cinematics, lore, characters, it's not some throwaway DLC questline. And let's not forget, the previous game was originally built for the Wii U and the early Switch. Back then, Tears of the Kingdom did start out as DLC, sure, but as development went on, the new mechanics and systems became so huge that it couldn't stay DLC anymore. It outgrew the old framework, so they had to expand it, rework things, and turn it into a fully fledged sequel. And since you brought up DLC, let's be real, Tears of the Kingdom isn't the only game that started life as an expansion. If you're going to call this DLC, then you might as well call a ton of other sequels DLC too. Think about it, if Yakuza Kiwami had released first and Yakuza 0 came out after, would you really call 0 a DLC? It uses the same city layout and engine, sure, but it adds new mechanics, new storylines, new characters, and extra areas. So by your logic, that would be just DLC too. Same with Spider-Man. Spider-Man 2 reuses the same city map with improvements, keeps similar mechanics, and adds new systems like the symbiote, new traversal moves, new enemies, and an extra playable character. So I guess that's a DLC as well, right? Even Dragon's Dogma 2 does it, reused systems, familiar mechanics, but expanded ideas, new classes, new AI patterns, and a bigger world. So what, DLC again? And don't forget Horizon Forbidden West, God of War Ragnarok, and plenty more. They all build on previous games, reusing maps, engines, animations, and mechanics, because that's how sequels work. So calling Tears of the Kingdom just DLC doesn't feel right. A lot of sequels reuse foundations, but they add, expand, evolve, and push things further. Using what came before doesn't make something DLC. Sometimes it's simply how developers build a proper sequel.
Wow, geez, well said. He's got you that one, Greedy. What do you have to say about that?
Alright, fine. You made your little sequel speech, but let me bring up what other people keep saying. First off, the story. A lot of players said it was a huge letdown. Barely any major plot twists, barely any emotional punch. Nothing close to what their real sequel should deliver. If you're gonna call it our full price experience, maybe give us a story that isn't predictable from a mile away. And don't even get me started on that hoverbike. That thing basically breaks the game. Traversal becomes so easy that half the puzzles lose their purpose. Why climb, explore, and strategize when you can zip past everything on a DIY flying scooter? Then there's abilities. In Breath of the Wild, we had champions, actually meaningful abilities that helps in combat and exploration. Now we get replacement abilities from the new sages that feels, well, useless. They're clunky to summon, slow to activate, and most of the time people just ignore them. And the world? Yeah, it's bigger, but bigger doesn't mean better. People said that the Sky Island feels sparse. The depths feel copy and pasted. And the surface, well, it's the same old map with some new furniture. So even with the underground and the floating islands, the world still feels kinda empty. Not much to do, except the same style of shrines and side quests over and over. So tell me again, how's this isn't a glorified DLC?
Well, Greedy, was not expecting that. Any replies you would like to say, Other Helmet Guy?
I'm actually glad you brought all that up, because let's be honest, Breath of the Wild didn't exactly have a massive story either. Sure, it had flashbacks, some world building, and a look into the champion's past, but most of the storytelling was minimal. The main focus was exploration and gameplay, so saying Tears of the Kingdom fails at story, compared to Breath of the Wild doesn't really make sense. They both tell their stories the same way. And about the hover bike, yeah, players use it to skip traversal. But Breath of the Wild literally had the Master Cycle 0 from the DLC. That bike also made horses obsolete and let you blast across the world, up mountains, and through areas way faster than intended. So if Tears of the Kingdom's hover bike breaks the game, then Breath of the Wild did the exact same thing first. As for the sage abilities, sure, they're not perfect, but at least the companions are actually around to help you. You can choose to have them with you or turn them off if you prefer exploring alone. And some abilities line up with what we had before. Rivali's Gale launched you upward, but in Tears of the Kingdom you can attach a rocket to a shield and do the same thing whenever you want. Different method, same result. Now, about the world feeling empty, not really. Tears of the Kingdom added dozens of new enemy types that Breath of the Wild never had. Gleeoks, Boss Bokoblins, Horriblins, Zone Constructs, Froxes, Phantom Ganon forms, the list goes on. There are simply far more enemy types and boss encounters in Tears of the Kingdom than Breath of the Wild ever offered. And that's on top of all the new puzzles, fused materials, new armor sets, costumes, and the massive blueprint system. There are investigation-style shrine quests where you actually have to think, follow clues, and look carefully, not just run from one marker to another. Plus, you can build vehicles, flying machines, battle robots, and even your own house. There's an insane amount of stuff to do. The problem is we live in this TikTok brain era where people rush through everything and judge it instantly. But if you slow down, explore, and actually pay attention, you can see how much has changed and expanded. The only thing I agree with is this. I do wish they added a proper master mode or difficulty option at launch. That would have been great, but aside from that, no. Tears of the Kingdom is not a DLC. It's way too big, too different, and too expanded to earn that label.
Wow, you two are really close on your arguments. I can generally see both sides here. And yeah, Other Helmet Guy made a solid point about other games using the same thing by reusing maps or engines. It's normal for sequels. But at the same time, I get why some people were disappointed. Tears of the Kingdom feels very familiar, and a lot of players wanted something completely new instead of an evolved version of the previous game. Familiarity can be comfort for some, but boring for others. And here's the tricky part. If Nintendo built everything from the ground up, we probably wouldn't have all the building mechanics, creative systems, weapon experimentation, and freedom to make Tears of the Kingdom unique. These systems only exist because they expanded on the original foundation instead of tossing it out. Honestly, I think it comes down to taste. Some prefer Breath of the Wild because it's simpler, few mechanics, less buildings and more straightforward exploration. Others enjoy Tears of the Kingdom because it's more experimental, more creative and adds more ways to play. So my final verdict is no. Tears of the Kingdom is not DLC, it's a sequel. But whenever you prefer it or not, really depends on the experience you enjoy.
Oh, we're lost. Oh well, this isn't really my style to begin with. But I'll do it just this once for this video.
Anyway, what do you think? Let me know in the comment section below. And once again, thanks for watching.